Now let me tell you why Blue Janemba needs to come back.
That's one way of introducing our inaugural podcast, which we're starting off with a conversation about what should be banned and unbanned in Dragon Ball Super card game.
And yeah, we're going to start it off by looking at the decks that went into the World Championship. Oddly enough, we have 4 unique decks to talk about.
Yeah, weird.
Almost like it's a diverse game. Ooh.
So the first deck we're going to talk about is kind of out of left field because at the World Championship no one expected it, but suddenly Broly, evil unleashed upon all of the players at the World Championships.
And it's very scary because it's hand control aggro, which is just 2 things that should never go together ever.
No, it's definitely a demon unleashed. The name of the leader definitely lives up to its height, but a lot of what's in this deck that I feel should get hit kind of proves that Cell Surge has a lot of stuff in common, and I think Broly Evil Unleashed kind of proves that these 2 cards need a serious look at, and that's Rosie, Blast Manipulator, and Ribrianne, Punishing Passion. Either of these cards could be hit in my personal opinion, and it wouldn't be, I wouldn't be crying over it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Hand rip decks, incredibly uninteractive. For me, I think either Ribrianne or Rosie should just be outright banned and be done with it, just to prevent any hand rip decks in the future coming up and taking advantage of these 2 cards. I think both of them could be banned. I don't think they will do that. But going off results, Cell Surge finished 3rd place and Broly Evil Unleashed 4th place. The results kind of prove that this deck needs to be hit, and Bandai usually punish decks based on results.
Yeah, I think it's a case where this deck itself is fine. It's all the cards in it are okay, except Ribrianne and Rosie, because they are just so generic, especially Ribrianne. The fact that it's in the drop area, you can't interact with Ribrianne. I don't know, unless you're playing Salsa, but who's playing that?
That's not going to be accessible for the majority of decks. But I do think Ribrianne could get hit. I do think one of them will get banned, and I don't know whether I'm going towards Rosie or Ribrianne, but it's tough to call.
Yeah.
But
I think Rosie is a really underrated card, just becoming like a triple attacker that denies your opponent even more resources. The fact that you do Ribrianne into Rosie is what's really stupid.
Rosie is, I think, definitely probably more ban worthy because it's just played at more. At the moment, we're kind of looking at the 4th place deck, and at the moment you can kind of see that it's played at 4, so I think it's more likely that Rosie will be hit. Looking at Jeremy Rosengall, I can't pronounce his name.
Sorry.
Cell Surge, 3rd place. Another card that could be hit, it was already errated, but well, there's actually 2 cards here that he plays, being Dark Broly, Overwhelming Evil. It was errated already, but you know, I'm not a fan of this Unison. I think it could get banned. Yeah,
this Unison, it's just a case of it has too much going for it. It's 20k, costs 3, it's double strike, and it plus 2s. A big thing I thought of is when the King Vegeta Unison came out in the last set. The fact that it costs 3, plus 1, is 19, and is single strike. And there's no reason to play that card over Dark Broly, because Dark Broly just does everything it does better.
Yeah, it's true. Like, the card has been nothing but trouble since it's come out, and I think getting it banned wouldn't be... Actually, it might be a good idea in itself. So I do think overall, even though I think green is lacking in options, it's not really, aside from Cell Surge and Evil Unleashed, it's not really doing anything. But just anything that involves hand ripping, I'm just not that much of a fan of. But right next to that is a card that we've been hearing some whispers about, some rumblings, is the Migra Unison of Sorcery. Now, this card's fantastic. I think this definitely shouldn't be hit in my opinion. But there's some people who are afraid because it can't really lose its markers, that it could be very abusive for Empower mechanic.
Yeah, I think a big thing with talking about Migra is It's again where you put it down turn 1, it immediately has 2 markers, and it's never losing them. But the argument for it is that it's 2 busters with Empower, but the green Empower Unisons are crap. Like, sorry Bandai, but they really suck. It's like Whis and Vados, and they're not great.
Yeah, so far from what we've seen, I'm not thinking it needs to be addressed immediately. Now, obviously, down the line, when we get other sets, it might become a problem, but I don't think they should, and it's healthy to just preempt how the game is going to go and just start chopping just because you think that things are going to go bad. But for me, I think the Migra should stay, and in a way, it would be a good way of trying to get players to play Empower, because if they don't have good Unisons to swap, no one's going to take the gamble on putting an Empower in if it's never going to come up.
Like, Demigra's always been question mark because it makes Charismatic Zone live turn 1. But even that interaction is... Green are still just going to play 2-cost, 3-cost Unisons, and Villain is going to be live because Green draws well. And it just doesn't need to go at the moment.
It's definitely true. So that's kind of all our thoughts on Green and what they could hit. Moving on to second place, probably the second best deck, if not the best, Gogeta Zeno. It's a fantastic deck. I love this deck. I haven't really played it too much just because it's been difficult to get some of the cards. One of those cards being Gogeta Thwarting the Dark Empire, which has finally been reprinted in Mythic Booster. But for me personally, I think this is the one card that could get hit. I don't think it'll get banned because it's not nearly as oppressive, but it's very splashable in every black deck. There's no reason not to play in every black deck, and it kind of makes every black deck a little samey.
Yeah, like, a big thing I always thought about Dark Broly was what they ended up doing to Dark Broly was incredibly harsh, but also understandable because every card in Dark Broly was really strong. Whilst Gogeta is more of every card is good, and that makes a really good deck. So even if you decide if they give it the Vegex treatment of like putting the leader to like lower the amount of cards it's sent to warp, I don't think that would be correct.
No.
I think thwarting is the card to... I'd personally prefer Navata, maybe to its energy cost.
I don't personally think that's... I mean, I feel like if it changes to energy, it makes the deck a card kind of mediocre, and there's other cards better than it. They've recently reprinted it in Mythic Booster, so I don't think they're going to ban this card. I do think, however, there's a potential of limiting the card because of how powerful the card is. And the fact that, you can remove it. Like, obviously it doesn't have barrier or deflect or anything, so it's very removable. But I get rid of your thwarting, next turn you can just bring it out if you draw another one. And in the Gogeta deck you can't search it, so it's quite difficult to deal with. And in other black decks, if you're playing 4, you will see it again.
Yeah.
It's so I just think it's too good to not limit.
Especially now that like every Gogeta deck is playing the SS4 Goku to grab it from the warp, which just means even if they do warp it, they'll just add it back to hand, recycle it. Yeah,
it's quite tough to deal with, and I think just naturally as a card game they will want to start you towards the Realm of the Gods, and I do think the results in Gogeta's been consistently doing well at tournaments, so I think they will naturally just hit it to get people to move on to the next set. Other than thwarting the Dark Empire, I really don't see anything else in the deck. The rest of the deck is very fair.
Yeah, like, black overall is in a pretty good place at the moment. Like, there isn't any, like, aside from Gogeta kind of going into all black decks, black's alright at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's not dominating the meta. Obviously black's always been a colour that's had strong decks, and I think we're getting some solid decks. I'm really have high hopes for the Trunks deck that's coming out.
Yeah, I think Trunks has a lot of potential.
Moving on now to the final deck that we're going to be discussing, as it was the number 1 deck, and I think all around the best deck of the format. I think most people would agree it's been doing very well. at the moment we're looking at Andrew Dovell's World Championship first place deck. Apologies if I mispronounced it. I try. But yellow, it's the problem with yellow at the moment is it
Everything.
yeah.
Like
There's no point tackling the leader because it will just be replaced with Helku or another good decent yellow leader.
Yeah.
It's just good yellow cards deck now, really, because it's just so powerful. When the last emergency ban list came out and addressed red and it hit blue and stuff, like yellow seemed to kind of go under the radar, and now it's kind of grown. Like Mecha Frieza leader got banned rightfully, and then yellow blue got cut down the size. But yellow mono yellow itself, super powerful this format, and especially with the leader Gohan, it's almost untouchable.
Yeah, like it's just a problem of it's kind of what blue used to be, of just really strong generic color cards. And I know a lot of people like it when a deck becomes just generic good color card. I'm really not a fan. I prefer archetype decks. And the problem with yellow is it just cards like Robotic Riposte, Power of Super Saiyan, they just do so much for so little.
It's true. And with the last set Saiyan Showdown, they got Son Goku and Steadfast Assistance and Turles all too easy, which has made playing yellow all too easy.
Yeah.
Every deck is just playing both of those cards at 4, and they're horrible to deal with. First-hand experience when they come out.
Yeah, the thing with Turles is he's a 20k double striker that is either popping something and drawing or popping two things. And that's just... And he's not unique.
And he's got double strike. He's so easy to bring out.
He's just Yellow Saiyan, and would you be surprised the best yellow leader at the moment is Saiyan?
Yeah.
And even if you get rid of that leader, the best yellow leader to follow is going to be Saiyan.
Yeah, I mean, you've got Helku, you've got loads of other options. The leader is kind of irrelevant because the cards are so good. Well, as long as that leader is Saiyan.
Yeah.
You've got tons of options. I mean, the only ones you probably can't pick is like Goku Lineage, because those decks have way too big of a engine. But I don't think, obviously, All Too Easy and Son Goku Steadfast Assistance just came out. They're not getting hit.
Yeah, it's way too soon for them.
But one card that's been around for a while now is Mecha Frieza Robotic Riposte. I don't know if this will get banned. It's kind of a staple card in
every yellow deck now.
In every yellow deck, there's no reason not to play it. But this kind of card that you summon, and every time your opponent has to attack, they have to pay a cost. Every color kind of has one now, and even archetypes are getting one. Obviously, red has Topo, blue has Heroic Trunks, and yellow has Mecha Frieza.
Yeah, the issue with this one is it is just strictly better than pretty much all of the other colors ones, because this costs 1, which immediately makes you think of Heroic Prospect, but Prospect only hits cards that are bigger than the opponent's energy, whilst Mecha just hits, it doesn't care about the turn, and it puts something to rest. And putting something to rest can be way more impactful than like pitching cards from your hand.
Yeah.
Because it's essentially shutting off the rest of your turn's plays.
It's true. It's difficult to deal with. It's a turn ender for a lot of decks.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be upset or shocked if that card got hit. I don't know if it'll get banned. I think a limit is definitely in order. Maybe a ban. I'm on the fence.
I think it's a case where Robotic Riposte is a badly designed card, purely because they wanted to give each colour something similar in their negate. But yellow's idea was, yellow swaps a load of things to rest mode. Give it something that does it with rest mode. But that effect is so much more impactful than the rest of the colours ones.
Well, speaking of rest mode, when this card's put in rest mode, it's a nightmare.
Oh.
Lord Slug, Super Namekian. This card's been around quite a while. Draft box 3 or 6 or whatever.
Yeah, this card... Again, this is another card, in my opinion, that it has bond, but it doesn't list the types of bond.
Yeah, it's just anything.
It's just anything, so you just bond it with whatever is on field. And in the deck it was meant to go into, this would have been a really strong boss monster, but instead it's another great generic yellow card.
Yeah, it's upsetting seeing it. It has barrier, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
and it's super easy to get out using Lord Slug, Evil Invader. So when this card goes into rest mode, obviously your opponent can't draw cards except for leader card skills, which is, I mean, it's Dragon Ball. What do you do when you can't add cards to your hand?
This is a game where we draw a load of cards.
Yeah, and like this card is super oppressive. I hate it.
Yeah.
And it's just too easy to get out because you just bring out Lord Slug, Evil Invader, tap 1, send that to the drop. Outcomes pretty much game for a lot of decks. It's too oppressive. I think it should get banned.
Yeah, I honestly wouldn't be against it. Like, I'm personally a fan of erratas. As controversial as that is, I wouldn't mind having this card errata to be errata Slug's army, errata even Namekian. But it's just way too generic and strong of a boss monster.
I just think it should just be outright banned. I don't think anything should be that powerful. Especially because it's 20k in rest mode. Like, if it was 10k, then fine, I can just use anything to attack. But I have to use my biggest dude on the field if I want to remove him from play.
Yeah, and it's yellow. They're going to negate the attack. They're going to swap a thing to rest mode.
And even at that, it's Gohan. He's drawing a lot of cards. Who cares if he combos 2 cards? He's probably already got a super combo anyway.
Yeah.
It's first-hand experience. It's horrible when you're under it, and it's hard to get rid of him. You need like Supreme Kai of Time or something really powerful to remove it that ignores barrier, which doesn't happen that often, or a lot of decks just don't have that card. And the final, I think, card that I think personally, no one's calling for this to get banned, and I'm quite shocked, to be honest, that's not being called, is Putin the Dark Sorcerer. You saw Bardock get banned in red, rightfully so, and I think Putin does the same thing. I think in the
Son Goku one.
Yeah, also got for green got hit. I think Putin follows suit. I think this card should be banned. I hate it. I think it's just too powerful. There's no point putting it to 1 because most players play it at 1.
Yeah.
But when it comes out, such a huge disadvantage.
Yeah, it's another really bad case of yellow getting their card that has barrier.
Yeah, why is everything got barrier?
I don't know why this is another one that has barrier. It's so hard to remove. And when you do remove it, you will have put in so much effort into removing something. It's like Slug. You have to put in so much effort to remove something that doesn't have barrier. Especially with Putin, who is never going to be in rest mode, so you can't just attack it.
Yeah, it's true. I think outright banning this card puts it in line with other colours. But there's actually one more card, and this is one that the community has brought up quite a bit. Is the power of a Super Saiyan. It's been out long enough that it can be banned. I don't think it should be banned, but obviously it's very powerful, probably the most powerful yellow staple, just simply because you pay no cost for it as long as you leave a yellow energy in active mode. So obviously you play power of the Super Saiyan, you negate the attack, or you put something in, no, you don't negate the attack, you put something in rest mode. Next attack, tap 1, Flying Nimbus, or
power, things like that.
Robotic Riposte, however, whichever one you want. It's incredibly powerful. Just fantastic card, and every yellow deck is using it. So I do think this card, in my personal opinion, I would limit this card. I don't think you would ban this card. Because I just think it's good at 1. I don't think it's, when it's at 4, or 3, most players are playing it at. It comes up too often. It's just too much of help. At least if it cost if it was only negate the attack, it's garbage. But the fact that you can play at no cost, switch them into rest mode.
Yeah.
A lot of decks only get like 3 attacks a turn, so.
Like, the problem with it is it replaces itself immediately by drawing 1, swapping something. It does so much for free, which is what yellow is really good at the moment, is doing a lot for little.
Yeah, it's got kind of a card for everything. Yeah. It can deal with any archetype, any colour. It's literally leagues ahead of everything else. Yeah. Like it, as a concept, it doesn't need an archetype. You can play every yellow deck. Kind of just looks the same.
Yeah, definitely at the moment.
It just kind of is quite upsetting, like, because you like to see differences. Like I love red. Like Jiren's deck is very different than the King Piccolo build. It's very different from any Red Goku, Red Gogeta build. They all rely on the archetype cards. Yellow doesn't need that. It doesn't even need. It just finds the best leader of yellow. We saw it with Mecha Frieza, and then it just plays the best cards.
Yeah.
And you could look at any yellow deck and they look the same. So for me, I think 3 hits to yellow, at the very least, and I would limit 2 cards, probably the power of the Super Saiyan, and maybe Robotic Rupesei, and then I would ban Putin.
Okay.
I don't know if you agree, but...
yeah, I'd agree with that. I think Power of Super Saiyan maybe not limited just yet, but definitely a ban to Putin. The card is really uninteractive, and a hit to Robotic Riposte, I really dislike that card. So yeah, definitely I'd agree with that.
Okay, so we talked about the top 4 and the decks, or the cards that will, in my opinion, are top of the chopping block. I think Bandai are talking about, or have already made their decisions on. But one deck we've seen the community be talking about a lot. We've seen the reveals for Realm of the Gods. Red Goku blue deck is coming out, or Super Saiyan God is coming out, which has made the community really heavily discuss, is Soul Striker getting banned?
Yeah, and no. So I'm really set in stone that Soul Striker won't get banned and shouldn't get banned. For 2 main reasons. A, Soul Striker doesn't have the results. It didn't win a Nats. It did well, but it didn't make it at Worlds. It's not even in, like, you could say it's a top 5 deck, maybe? It doesn't really do that well. It's riding on the coattails of good blue stuff, which is not that strong right now.
Yeah.
And also the fact that Soul Striker is quite a different deck to SS God Goku that comes out in Realm of the Gods. Yeah, you can say that the leader does a similar thing, but Realm of the Gods Goku has his own archetype, his own dudes, his own theme that he's aiming to be playing. And Soul Striker doesn't. It's purely just generic blue leader.
Yeah, it's true. Super Saiyan God, like, if anything, I feel like keeping Soul Striker around gets people to want to buy the next set. Banning Soul Striker doesn't make me want to play Super Saiyan God Goku. It would make me want to play something that's already out. It doesn't really encourage me to do it, but there's some interesting blue cards coming the next set. So if I was playing Soul Striker and I wanted to jump to the next level, I would try what's in the next set. It doesn't make any sense to just ban a good leader that's not getting the results, just for the sake of trying to get them to buy the next set.
At the beginning of every format, everyone always tries out Soul Striker. Let's see what Soul Striker can do this format. And every format, it falls into the, it's a good deck, it won't do that, it doesn't do that much.
Yeah,
but it's a really good leader.
Yeah, it's a solid leader, but it just doesn't, I think at the moment, because Blue just hasn't gotten amazing support since like Rise of the Unison, or Vermilion Bloodline I should say. And obviously Baby got outright banned for being just too degenerate.
Yeah, that was a badly designed deck.
Yeah, and thankfully it's gone.
Yeah.
Along with Maker Frieza. So that's what the community has been talking about. Have you any other cards that you have in mind that you think has to be banned, could be banned?
Nothing that I think needs to be banned. Yeah, I think we discussed all of them, to be honest.
Yeah, there's quite a few options from looking at the decks. I don't think there's anything other than that the community's been talking about. I can't see really anything else or why anything else would be hit. But, you know, you never know. With Bandai, or well, you kind of know, but, you know, they might throw a curveball. There might be something they've preempted. They might have discovered something that we haven't with Realm of the Gods, but, you know, all the reveals are out, so...
Yeah, I would really like it if we could get a card back off the ban list.
Which we'll move on to now. If there was one card you could take off the ban list, will we see anything come back, first of all?
Personally, no. I don't think anything will come off, just because I really don't expect this to be a big ban list, and cards coming off, I don't think many people are calling like they did with Universe 9 Assemble, and that came back rightfully so. But if I could have one card back, it would be Janemba Bewitching Blow, because this card shouldn't have been limited.
No, Red was doing too well, so that's Blue's problem.
Yeah, it's like, they hit Red for having too many free plays, fair, and then they were like, okay, we'll hit Blue, because they have a free play card that's not, because it's really specific. You have to return the skillless, and limiting this card just makes the Janemba deck crap. It makes Soul Striker boring because it's no longer skillless Soul Striker, which was really fun, and it hurts SS2 Gohan, and none of those decks were really like wow when they were about, and this card was never, no one was ever really complaining about it. It didn't really make sense.
Yeah, it was out of left field. I would like to see it come back, because SS2 Gohan didn't really get much of a out in the sun. It would be nice to see Soul Striker as well be able to use it.
Yeah, like,
you know, give it a reason to get banned.
Yeah. It's just a case of, like, you can understand where they were coming with doing this card, but not really anymore does this card need to be at 1.
No, not at all in my opinion. If we could bring anything back, I think Drum needs to be brought back. We need a tier 0 King Piccolo format.
Big KP fan right here.
No, I'm completely unbiased.
Oh yeah.
I am...
New ruler back as well, yeah?
Oh yeah, well, like, that's obvious. And obviously, like, why was Bardock banned? I don't understand. Someone please explain.
It was all King Vegeta's fault, man. All his fault.
There is one card the community is talking a lot about getting honor-added. I don't know if that's unprecedented.
Yeah.
I can't think of any card that got honor-added. I mean, I might be wrong. But, Young Invaders, yay or nay?
No, I'm in nay.
Nay.
I like, a lot of people were really unhappy that King Veg was just slaughtered. Like, it's unplayable at this point.
Like, not only did they get rid of all the red aggro options or free play cards, but they then got rid of what makes the deck tick.
Yeah, they were like, okay, we've hit everything around the deck. Let's just make sure the deck is never a problem again.
Yeah, it was ugly, people. So what's funny is I bought the Raditz promo cards, sold them for my money back, and then pretty much right after that the deck gone.
Yeah,
I was like, oh. Yeah,
I think, like, I'm not a fan of this deck. I'm really not a fan of the playstyle of King Vegeta. I don't like to see when decks are just made unplayable.
Yeah, it was horrible to play against.
Yeah, but the main thing of King Vegeta is this is a very question mark deck. Even without the red aggro stuff, like, it just does something that's so unique and bizarre that it is relatively easy to exploit, even though a lot of the red aggro things are now gone. I honestly think King Vegeta can just... Young Invaders can stay gone for a while.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that.
For me it doesn't make sense to bring back a red deck. Like, a lot of people are saying, because Jiren is really the only competitive meta deck on the scene right now, it needs more options, but it doesn't make sense to me to do that right before you bring out a really good red contender in UI Goku, who looks fantastic. I can't wait to get my hands on that deck. As well as the fact that you're getting a lot of blue-red cards that could make other cards, that could make the red Gogeta deck viable. It could make, blue-red Gogeta, it could make a number of decks back to being competitively viable. Do I predict red will take over the meta? No. But I do think Goku could be a tier 2, possibly tier 1. I'm not getting my hopes up, but I do think it could get a few tops here and there. But it depends on what they hit. Like, obviously, if yellow gets absolutely butchered in the next list, then, red, yellow, green will all be kind of vying for top spot. But I think hitting yellow really kind of brings all the colours kind of at a level playing field, in my personal opinion.
Especially with the yellow that's coming out in the next set. They're definitely going to have to do something.
Yeah, I think it will get a bad time, but it's tough to say because I don't know if they want to sell it off to Goku Black Leader or how much faith they're putting in that. But I do think yellow, I think the 3 hits I've put out there make perfect sense. Obviously Goku Black can use Turles all too easy, can use Steadfast Assistance because on the front or on the Awakened side, or which side it's
the Awakened side.
Yeah, the gods say it's a saying, so they will be exploited in the deck. So I do think, at least hit the Poutines and the other cards around it. Zamasu's super combo, the yellow blue one, Sacred
Disbelief?
Disbelief, yeah. Put something in rest mode, so Putin will be put into the build. It's inevitable. But yeah, that's my personal opinions. If you have any more to say?
No, I think that's good.